faith, family, fun. Join the hangout. CFH.
Good morning and welcome to your weekly hangout spot right here on the Catholic Family Hangout with the Nkosi family presented by myself, Leander Tema. You, of course, are listening to Radio Veritas, the good news for a change, and you are listening to us either on the DSTV channel 870, the Radio Veritas app, or streaming us live at www.radioveritas.co.za. As usual, you guys do know that we obviously always upload these episodes every Wednesday onto our Spotify account. And if you are new and you haven't been keeping up to date with us on our Instagram page at Catholic Family Hangout, we have just recently launched all of our podcast episodes on YouTube. So you also have the possibility to be catching up on this episode as a podcast episode on either Spotify or YouTube. And if you are, we'd love to say thank you because this is obviously something that we've just started for the first time ever. But we just played you Good Day by Forrest Frank. And I think it is kind of a good day. It's a bit of a bittersweet one because it is the last ever episode of season 4, which means we are wrapping up what is being about a 5-month series with the Nkosi family, and it will also be my last show presenting. And of course, today that means we'll be getting into a bit of a reflection. We'll be having Kiebetsu's mom on to just also reflect on what it's been like for her to watch Kiebetsue grow on the channel. But of course, I'm never alone. I'm always joined by the Nkosi family. Kiebetsue, how are you doing this morning, even though it's a bit bittersweet?
I'm so sad, Leander. Yeah, no, I'm very sad. I can't believe this is the last show. It genuinely feels like yesterday when I started season 4. I guess all good things have to come to an end.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. But of course, we've still got a lot to unpack today, a lot to think over. Like I'm saying, it's been a pretty lengthy period of us being on the show. And of course, we will be diving into a lot of reflections, having our final goodbyes with the listeners. But before we get into that, we'll be listening to Praise by Brandon Lake, Chris Brown, and Chandler Moore. And welcome back. You are still tuned into the Catholic Family Hangout with the Nkosi family, presented by myself, Leander Tema. We just played you Praise by Brandon Lake, Chris Brown, and Chandler Moore. And of course, you are listening to Radio Veritas, the good news for a change. You are either listening to us on the DSTV channel 870, the Radio Veritas app, or streaming us live at www.radioveritas.co.za. As I mentioned previously, today is unfortunately the last ever episode of season 4. We are wrapping up this time period with the Nkosi family and myself as well. I'm wrapping up being a presenter of Catholic Family Hangout. And as you guys know, if you've tuned into previous seasons, this is typically the time where we get into a reflection on the past couple of months that we've had. But before we get into a really deep dive into the reflection, obviously last week we had a discussion around Valentine's Day, even though Valentine's was yesterday, because we also mentioned that this month of February is the month of the Holy Family. And I think it's very fitting for us to be talking about the Holy Family, especially today as we are wrapping up a season with a family that we've been with for a very long time. And Gerberto, we always talk about, and even last week we talked a little bit around relationships and the importance of relationships, whether it's platonic, whether it's a family member, whether it's a romantic relationship. And we really just talked about how that can shape you. And obviously, you starting off on Radio Veritas, we'll unpack it a little bit later when your mom comes on, but it is something that was introduced to you by your mother. And I just wanted to know from you, can you let us know a little bit more how your family has supported you during this time period of you being on the Catholic Family Hangout and how you think it's made you be able to grow, I suppose, in your confidence and also even in your spiritual growth?
So I think firstly, I don't think I ever told this to anyone, but I normally don't like the sound of my own voice. I don't like how my voice sounds. Like for example, if we'd have a show, it would be so difficult for me to listen to the whole show throughout. And now I've gotten so comfortable with hearing my own voice on radio or even in a voice note. I've gotten so comfortable, and I think through the support of my mom and like my family, they're the ones actually who kept on encouraging me. No, listen to it, listen to it. So even though sometimes they said I'm being dramatic, I was not being dramatic. I think I was just going through a little phase of fear, maybe. But at some point, I also had to let go of the fear, Linda.
No, that definitely makes sense. And I love the fact that you are it's a one of those things where you have to open yourself up to that conversation, right, with them when they try and give you advice and you need to be able to listen to them. And you've even mentioned, I think, in one of the earlier episodes, you always mentioned how having your family, you guys always engage in open and honest conversations, right? And I think getting into something like this, like the Catholic Family Hangout or anything on Radio Veritas, it gives you the opportunity to delve more into your faith, which, yes, we can all say we are religious or we can all say we're Catholic or we're Christian, but we never really sit down to think about what that means. And we never really have conversations about it besides us knowing that we need to go to church every Sunday with our family. Do you think that being on Catholic Family Hangout, though, has opened up that conversation between you and your family a little bit more? Do you find yourself having discussions with them about your faith and maybe even some of the things that you learn while you've been on the show currently?
So I think ever since I started the show, Leander, I'm the one who's learning more than they are. I'm not sure how that is working, that is supposed to work, but I've realized that I'm the one who's actually learning more than they are. And then they just give me more insight to what they already know, which is what I don't know. But in terms of, I think in terms of different aspects, like for example, our conversations with father, they normally teach my family on some things I know. So I guess that's something I think we still need to work on. I don't know. I think just educating each other more and more and more and more, because normally I think the Catholic Family Hangout has provided us a chance to actually, I'm gonna say, explore deeper conversations, whereas in the normal world, I feel like life sometimes moves so fast that we don't actually get the time to sit down and talk. If it's not school, it's work. If it's not work, is this. If it's not this, is that.
No, I get you. And I think what you're saying is very important because um, we mention that there is always an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to grow, right? And we cannot say, even though you've been on the program for about 5 months, and it's been about 10 episodes, and we've dealt with a lot of different topics and a lot of different conversations. We've had a lot of guests on even. We've had priests, we've had, therapists, psychologists, we've had people who have open and honest conversations with us. But obviously, like you're saying, there is always a space to grow and a space to kind of learn more. And one thing that you've also mentioned really heavily, since we are on the topic of family, you've always kind of explained the importance of anyone being your family, right? Like you can go to church and the people that you sit next to or the people that you interact with at church can be your family. The people you go to school with can be your family. Your friends become your family. And I wanted to know, because you've discussed a little bit about um, what it's like to have your intimate family motivate you and push you towards continuing on with us and continuing to grow with us. But how has this journey been with you, sharing it with your friends? Have you been able to have conversations, I suppose, with your friends? Have your friends supported you through this journey of learning a little bit more and being on the Catholic Family Hangout?
Leander, when it comes to my friends, sometimes I just felt like it's the blind leading the blind. But with this, with the whole Catholic Family Hangout, I think that they got to see a side of me that they normally don't. Yes, they do see the talkative side of me, but I guess they didn't. This was their opportunity to see the really critical thinker side of me. Even though it's there, but as I said earlier on, I think most of the time we don't get to spend enough time with each other or learn what we love because of how busy we all are. So I guess this was also a way for them to learn something about me, something like very personal about me.
No, that definitely makes sense. And I think one thing that has stood out to me, and obviously it's something that as I'm also wrapping up my time period on the Catholic Family Hangout, I'm just thinking about how we always talk about it. Like I'm saying, we continuously bring it up and we continuously talk about the importance of family, the importance of the relationships that you have. And obviously, we've dived a little bit into your personal family, we've dived into your friendship family sort of situation. But obviously, you being a part of Catholic Family Hangout in itself and Radio Veritas in itself has extended you to another form of family, right? And it's you've developed a new home, if that makes sense. And I think we'll dive into it a little bit deeper in our chats that are to come. But I just wanted to know from you, I suppose maybe in a word or two, or if you could like kind of summarize what it's been like to be a part of this Catholic family, because obviously many people maybe listen to us, but many people maybe don't have the courage to be on radio. Maybe some of them don't like their voice. Maybe, it's one of those things where maybe some people feel like this is not the thing for them, but you have obviously had this opportunity to be a part of the Radio Veritas team. And I just wanted to know from you, how has that been to kind of lend yourself to another sort of Catholic family?
I think life is very uncomfortable, firstly. And as humans, I personally believe we never good at something up until we try it. So I think for someone who's out there who wants to try radio, go for it, because the Catholic Family Hangout, it's been such a warm journey, a supportive journey, a growing journey. But most importantly, it's been also an educational journey. It's been fun. It I don't understand how it's, when you feel loved, that's how this journey has been for me.
Oh, no, that's beautiful, honestly. And I think what you're saying is the perfect um words of wisdom, I think, to the families that are coming on in seasons to come. Obviously, we've just wrapped up our auditions for season 5, but that doesn't mean that we won't have seasons to come. So, like Gebes was saying, everything is a little bit scary. And if you are a listener right now and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I'd really love to be a part of something like this, a team like this, there's always going to be auditions that come in the future. So I encourage you to stay up to date with everything Radio Veritas related. Obviously, we'll still continue to be here every Saturday, keeping you guys company, hanging out with you guys. But obviously, seasons to come, there are still many seasons to come, as I'm saying, and we've got a new host, Thandulotu Madenani, who's coming on from season 5 onwards. So if you or your family or anybody that you know would potentially ever want to be a part of something like this, stay up to date with Catholic Family Hangout. Follow us on our Instagram, follow Radio Veritas on the Instagram. You can search up Radio Veritas on Instagram, you can search up Catholic Family Hangout, and you can just keep up to date so that in the future, maybe you can also find yourself being a part of the team. But I think we've had a bit of a reflection, and soon we'll be having Gerbert's mom come in. But before we get into that, we'll be listening to Stayed on Him by Terry Ain.
And that was Stayed on Him by Tyrion. You are listening to the Catholic Family Hangouts with the Nkosi family on Radio Veritas. You are listening to us either on the DSTV channel 870, the Radio Veritas app, or streaming us live at www.radioveritas.co.za. Today we have a very important guest. I guess this guest was supposed to come in the beginning, but nonetheless, she still came. Today I have my mom with me in studio. Hi, Nkuku. How are you?
Hi, Nkuku. I'm good, and you?
I'm good, good, good. So, guys, normally at home, instead of me calling her mom, I normally call her Nkuku, and Nkuku means chicken. So that's just a fun fact about us. So today, Leander and I will be asking you a few questions about my journey into Radio Veritas and how everything has been.
Yeah. So, morning. Thank you again for agreeing to come on. And we're very lucky to be having the reason why, for one, I suppose the reason why Gilberto is here in multiple forms. Because obviously you are the one who got her interested in Catholic Family Hangout. And I suppose that's my first question for you. So obviously, Gilberto has mentioned that you were on Facebook and you saw the advert for the show. And I just wanted to know from you, what were your thoughts when you initially told her about the audition? And did you ever really think that she would be committed to something like this or she would enjoy hosting a show like this?
Okay, thank you for the question, Leander. The moment I saw the ad, I thought of my daughter, that she is outspoken, she's not scared, and definitely it would be something that should be interested in. And especially since she's studying towards, I think, the same line of career. So I thought this would also assist her.
That definitely makes sense. And when you obviously got her into this and she had told you that she was selected to come onto the show, what were your initial thoughts when you found out the news that she was going to be presenting?
It was exciting because I mean she started a journey of doing media and stuff. Actually, I don't even understand this careers of yours, you guys. But I thought it would be more beneficial to her in terms of experience, and also it can open doors for her, and also it can show her if she has the strength and ability to do the show.
That definitely makes sense. And what you're saying obviously is the growth, right? And the opportunity for her to be able to grow as an individual in her faith, but I suppose also kind of propel her into a little bit more confidence for her future career. So I wanted to know from your perspective, what are some of the things that has happened during the season maybe that you've seen have caused Gebetwe to grow? Have you noticed a change in her confidence or maybe a change in her communication skills in general?
In terms of our faith, she has grown a lot from the show, especially even myself. The show also educated me, like part of the All Souls and All Saints, the way it was explained during the show, and also you guys bringing the priest to explain further to us because of some of the things we don't know. Like myself, I've never gone to a Catholic school, and then it's my limitation was through doing my classes of baptism, First Holy Communion, and confirmation, and reading this and that. But some of the things I didn't know. I learned from the show. Yeah, and with Yabetu, she has grown, hey, and more surprising, she has faith more than me. Yeah, she has faith more than me. I think she has grown spiritually, and I see her being matured in our Catholic faith, and also in terms of living her life and knowing her boundaries between her life and the school life, the Catholic faith. You know, it makes me happy when she goes to church, when she participates in the church stuff, like she's a proclaimer. You know, those little things. I'm very proud of her.
I think that's beautiful. And I love the fact that you are mentioning, obviously, the fact that it's also been a bit of a learning curve for you and a bit of a learning opportunity. And I wanted to know a little bit further, particularly about how it's been for you. And I suppose maybe some of your highlights or some of your favorite episodes of the season where you felt like it's something that you really had very limited knowledge about. And our conversation maybe was able to make you learn about something that you didn't even know that you should be learning about potentially?
It's about this year, the opening of doors. I didn't understand. I saw that on TikTok, but through the show, yeah, I've learned quite a lot. I've learned quite a lot. And also about Christmas, when you guys were explaining some details about Christmas as well. Yeah, I had limited information.
Thank you for that. I think it's, like I'm saying, it's wonderful that it's been a bit of a learning journey for both of you. And obviously, as we wrap up season 5, we are looking towards, rather, as we wrap up season 4, we are looking towards season 5. And Giabetto did mention in our discussion previously that obviously there's going to be things that are challenging to everybody, and there may be maybe families or children out there who are a little bit hesitant about reaching out and starting off their faith journey a little bit more by joining a team at Radio Veritas. Maybe it's joining Catholic Family Hangout or any of the other youth shows that we have. So if you could give advice to any of the parents maybe who are listening currently, who have children who are maybe potentially afraid of starting off the show, maybe a bit hesitant, or maybe kids who are fairly confident, what advice would you give to parents on how to kind of guide their children and support them through this journey of chasing their dreams and I suppose having deeper conversations about their faith, whether it be on Radio Veritas or even just volunteering at any of the youth groups at their church?
Okay, I would like to say to the parents of young girls and young boys that if they see their children, they are more interested in the Catholic faith, can they allow them to be exposed more into our Radio Veritas? We are lucky as Catholic because we do have our own radios where kids can express and learn, and these shows, they also teach us as parents about our faith. But parents, they should not block children if they want to start this journey of broadcasting, media and stuff. I think they just need to support their children and nurture their careers. And some other kids are gifted, they can talk. You know, you can see from a child, if you have that particular child, just expose that child to Radio Veritas. If there's audition, let that child participate. And I would encourage parents to tune into all the shows of Radio Veritas, even Catholic Hangout with their children, and hear how our children are proclaiming our faith and the understanding of our Catholic faith. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. And obviously, as we are wrapping up season 4, and that obviously means that we won't have Gebertwe on, and we won't have your family on the show on a full-time basis anymore. But for the listeners who are maybe going to miss both of you a little bit and want to know what are some of the ambitions or maybe some of the plans, some of the things that you're looking forward to in the future throughout this year.
What we are looking for in future is that we have a solid show for our children, even in our churches, you know. A little broadcast in our churches. I saw one of the church, I don't know which church is it, they also have their, I would say, mini podcast where they interview Catholics if there's an event, like the ordination of the new bishop. I saw a young ladies and young gentlemen interviewing. I would like to see that the Catholic Hangout family spread, you know, all throughout our Catholic, all over the world. Like it should be a global thing, but it must expand first in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Obviously, we'd love to say thank you for being on today and obviously also supporting Kiabetwe throughout this journey and just being a person who obviously she's always mentioned the importance of her family, and we really can understand now when we get to talk to you how impactful you've been. But before we let you go, do you have any parting words maybe to Radio Veritas or even potentially any of the listeners?
Okay, what I would like to, the parting words is that we would like to say thank you to Radio Veritas for this opportunity that was granted to the family, as Kiabetu was representing the family. Thank you for that, because it's a learning curve for her. It will also help her in her career and also in her Catholic faith. And I saw her growing in this. So thank you very much for affording us this opportunity. We are grateful. Thank you very much. May this show not stop. May God's grace bless the show, bless the station. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, we'd love to say thank you for coming on this morning. Thank you for having Kiabete on. And like you're saying, we wish you well as well throughout the continuation of this year. While we might not be on air with you every weekend, we'd love to wish you a very good rest of 2025 and hopefully have you both come on again in the future. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of our I suppose, Chat with Father segment. And right now we'll be listening to This Is My Father's World by Cedarmont Kids. And welcome back. You are still tuned into the Catholic Family Hangout with the Nkosi family, presented by myself, Luyanda Tema. We just played you This Is My Father's World by Cedarmont Kids. And of course, you are listening to Radio Veritas, the good news for a change. You are either listening to us on the DSTV channel 870, the Radio Veritas app, or streaming us live at www.radioveritas.co.za. So if you are a tried and true Catholic Family Hangout listener, you know that this is our segment where we get into a little bit of a discussion further around our mental health. And obviously, as we wrap up today's show, we're reflecting a little bit on the impact that the show has had on the both of us, as it is obviously a goodbye from the both of us. And Gerberta, we just had your mom on an interview with your mom, and obviously discussing a little bit this process that you've been on and this time that you've had at the station. And one of the biggest things that she mentioned was that you have grown immensely in your faith, but also in your confidence, which she really believes is going to serve you well as you like continue on into your professional journey. But I wanted to know from you, from your perspective, what was one of the biggest takeaways from hosting Catholic Family Hangouts, and how do you think it's impacted you both personally and spiritually, and maybe even professionally, as your mother was saying?
I think my mom reminded me about a very important one, confidence. Because now I know I do have the confidence to do things I never thought I'd do. I do have the confidence to trust in God. I also do have the confidence that we have a way to impact other people, even if it's by a small talk, a radio station, just even if it's by Bible codes, we as people have an impact. And I think being confident in yourself also helps to be confident in what you do. So I think that's the biggest takeaway I've learned so far. And I think being more outspoken. Initially, I am an outspoken person, but now I think I'm a bit more outspoken than I was before.
I can definitely agree with what you're saying there. And I think even though obviously we met through the process of being on the show, I think even just from the start of season 4 till now, I've even seen an immense growth in you. And one of the things that I think um, you've mentioned a lot, and you mentioned it previously, quite recently even, is the whole thing of wanting to try out big girl things. And as you're mentioning this whole thing of confidence, what are some of the things maybe that you have learned about yourself throughout this season that has made you want to venture out and be more confident in something else? Maybe being on here has unlocked a new passion, or it's made you learn something unexpected about yourself. Are there any of those things that you could share with us?
I think the passion for talking, not only, educating people, because I realized we don't necessarily educate people only by being a teacher. It's being in school, like, you know how educational purposes, but we can also educate people through life matters. We can educate people about having hope. We can inspire people to inspire others before we also expire. So I think mainly that is what this journey has taught me also. Because I think from now on, I'm gonna try just to carry on the faith talks, the hopeful talks, basically positive talks. Because I realized every time we're on the Catholic Family Hangout, it's just a positive atmosphere, it's positive mindset. And I think that also has helped me throughout any trials and tribulations I'm facing and I'm going to face, that holding on to that positivity, holding on to that hope, that warmth is going to get me through everything.
And on that note, Robert, so you even mentioned one of your goals for this year is to start doing more short films. Do you think that, I suppose maybe even this positivity that you're talking about that you've picked up from the show, do you find or do you see it, um, envision it potentially infiltrating this process of yours of creating short films? Do you think you'll be inspired maybe by some of the things that you learned on here? Or do you think just as a whole, you'll use those short films maybe as an extension of yourself again, somewhat similar to how you've had this time on Catholic Family Hangouts to just speak openly about things that you're passionate about? Do you see short films maybe filling that role once you leave the season?
I think firstly, before I do short films, I'm gonna start with scripts. And I think in each and every script of mine, something special about the script is just gonna be something personal about myself. Like I don't know how I'm going to infiltrate that. I don't know how I'm going to put that out in, but I know I just want it's a bit of I want a piece of me to be in that script. I don't know why per se, but I just wanted to be there. Maybe just to serve as a reminder of the things I've been through, the positive things, things that have things that have helped me grow. For example, maybe you've once said something to me that was really positive, and I could maybe use that as a line for a character. It's sort of those things because I think it's part of being a creative, just to use your brain and to also generate creative things.
Hmm. No, that makes sense, especially because, like you're saying, this is kind of one of those things that you can draw inspiration from. And you can use it in any sort of way. You know, it could be a short film that you make, it could be a script that you make, it could just be a conversation that you have with somebody else. And on that, I wanted to know a little bit more. Has there been a particular moment or maybe a particular episode this season that has really stood out to you, that has maybe been your favorite episode?
I have to say the Christmas episode. I still till this day I'm still shocked about the candy cane represented I think it's Jesus's flock. You know, I
Yeah,
don't know what you call the stick,
the
but
yes.
yes,
Interesting.
that's something that will forever be drilled in my mind.
Oh,
About that is something I will never forget. The Christmas show.
oh, that was a beautiful one. Especially because we had everyone come on and it was really just a team effort.
Yes,
It
it
was
just
really cool.
reminded me about team building, I think.
Mm. And even on this whole topic of like team building, I think this season has been particularly interesting because you came on your own, and usually we have families who have a very wide dynamic, right? We've had cousins on before, we've had siblings, we've had family friends, we even had Sibiso come on a few episodes. But for majority of this period, it has just been the two of us. And I think it's really commendable to you, how well you've carried it, because obviously, if you look at a season where there's maybe a family of 4 members or 5 members, there's so many more brains thinking together and coming up with ideas. But obviously, throughout the process of this season, it's just been the two of us. And this season, we've started off a lot of new things. Like we keep mentioning every week, we've started off our Instagram page, we've started off our TikTok page, we've started uploading all of these episodes to Spotify. We're now freshly starting them off on YouTube. So it's really been a season, I think, of pioneering a lot of different things that are hopefully going to be carrying on and the listeners are going to continue to engage with and enjoy even long after we have left the show. But I wanted to know from you, what has been your favorite part of just working together and collaborating to make the Catholic Family Hangout? Because I think whenever a new family comes on, we always have a conversation about what they'd like to learn and what they'd like to add to the show. And I suppose in many ways you've kind of, like you were mentioning the whole thing with having Catholic Family Hangouts leave a little bit of a mark on your films or some of the content that you create in the future, I think you also have left your mark on Catholic Family Hangout. So I just wanted to know from you a little bit more. How has this journey been of working together and creating something new for Catholic Family Hangout?
So, as you've mentioned, Leanda, I was doing it alone, but the time I was doing with you, it just felt like I had a sibling. And it just made me feel like if there's someone out there who doesn't have siblings or nearby cousins, Leanda's here, guys. I'm just joking. I'm just joking, but I honestly felt like I wasn't alone. I was doing this with a sibling. I was doing this with someone who cares, someone who's loving, someone who's patient. And I think that's the thing that made me more comfortable also, because first impressions last longer, and the experience, your first experience also matters. So I think all in all, you've just made this experience amazing for me. And I didn't even have that, I didn't even feel that void of not having anyone else to host with, even though we did have guests, but every time when we were hosting, it just felt like two siblings just casually hosting.
No, I cannot agree more. It's been one of those that's been really interesting for me as well, and I think I feel the exact same about you. It's been very enriching to work with you throughout the season, and it's been one of the most exciting seasons I think I've ever worked on. And it makes it, I suppose, a little bit bittersweet for me to be leaving now because like you're saying, it's you through the show you get to learn so many people. But obviously it's always been a an honor to kind of host with you and to host with any other family that's been on the show. And obviously, our journey doesn't really stop here. Like we keep saying, we still have so much more of 2025. And unfortunately, it won't be shared on air with the listeners every Saturday. We won't be having these weekly hangouts anymore. But I just wanted to know from you, because obviously I think the listeners will miss you and it will feel a little bit empty for a little while they're getting to know the new family and trying to figure out those dynamics. And maybe some of the listeners out there are really fond of you, and I know that a lot of them have enjoyed this season. Um, Before we leave, Geberto, what are some of the things that you are going to be getting up to in the next year that maybe our listeners won't be able to know about because you won't necessarily be on air to share them every week?
This comes down to the big girl things I was saying. So this year I'll be shortly and mainly focusing on producing maybe two short films. That's the maximum is two. I think minimum is one. I really don't want to end this year without doing any film, and I just want to try write scripts also, get the idea flowing and generating. And yeah, I haven't really decided much about the rest, because also school on the other hand also has me by my neck. But once I start finding that balance, I'll be okay.
No, you definitely will. And I think even though the listeners won't know exactly what we are up to, they are always still wishing us well in our journeys. And obviously we are, as I keep saying, we are wrapping up season 4, and it is a little bit bittersweet. And we still have a few more things to discuss a little bit more. I think maybe some of our favorite moments of the show, some of our highlights of behind the scenes even. Like I'm saying, if you haven't been keeping up to date with us on our Instagram, I think this is the time where maybe if you haven't been on our social media, you'll get a little bit more insight of some of the things that we've been doing on there. But before we get into our last ever reflection, we'll be listening to Joy, We Are Family by The Soil.
And that was Joy, We Are a Family by The Soil. You are listening to the Catholic Family Hangouts on channel DSTV 870, the Radio Veritas app, or streaming us live at www.radioveritas.co.za. And now we have reached the final tier. I'm going to call it a final tier. So we have reached the reflection. And this is normally a time where Luanda and I discuss what we enjoyed throughout the show. But I guess now we have to say what we've enjoyed throughout the season. I know this is bittersweet. It's a bit sad. But Leander, do you have any favorite moments of the season?
Um, I think, as I mentioned before we went to the song, obviously started off this brand new thing. We've started off the social media pages for Catholic Family Hangout. And it was really, the listeners don't know this, but it literally came about in Kiabetue's audition for the season, where she just casually mentioned how she had seen a podcast on her TikTok, and she really thought that it was important for us to have something like that of our own. And the process of creating that social media and posting every week and doing the research for it, and if you haven't been on our social media page, it's really just like jam-packed with color and lots of different parts of the show, right? We obviously have reminders for the show. We've got scriptures that we are enjoying. We have songs of the week. We have infographics where we dive a little bit deeper into some of the conversations that we have on air. So I think one of my biggest highlights is all of that stuff that went into the planning, I suppose, of building Catholic Family Hangout into more than just something that is on air every Saturday. I think my favorite part was just extending this hangout into something that um, you can be lazing about on a Wednesday, and you can just go onto our social media page and you can see our host highlights, where we tell you our favorite biblical quotes, our favorite songs. I think that for me has been one of the highlights, and even I never really thought I would be the type to be doing them, but even just filming the TikTok videos that we do, where we're just running around studio doing all sorts of crazy things. And now we've got those little videos that will stay there forever as a memory. But I think that really has been my favorite part, just extending our creativity beyond just behind the mic. But what about you, Gabriel? So what has been some of the things that you have enjoyed the most on the season?
I think coming up with the content plan, at first I think I struggled. And then, because at first I used to like plan for it like maybe a week before, 2 weeks before. And the more I got comfortable with it, the more I was even able to plan maybe the day before or a few hours before. So I think it also comes down to comfortability. The more I was there, the more the more I guess the more time you spend, the more comfortable I got. And I think one of my most favorite things was doing TikToks. Not more than hosting, obviously, but I have to say I enjoy doing the TikToks. I just enjoyed the creative part of the Catholic Family Hangout.
Hmm.
I can't believe it's over. Oh,
Yeah,
where is time going?
very strange. It's really,
I,
it just time flew by. And
yeah,
I think it's
definitely. Time
weird
is definitely for
because
real.
you've been on the season for a very long time. Because we started off the season the last week of October, and we've been running now until February. But I think it's just the fact that because we started off in the end of the year, and then we had the holiday program in between, and then we came back, and obviously now the hustle and bustle of getting back into varsity just feels like it all happened very fast. But I think before we wrap up, and I want to ask you another question after this, but seeing as we both have been enjoying the TikTok, do you have maybe a favorite TikTok that we filmed together?
Um, I think it's the first one. Do you know them? No. Yeah.
Oh no, I love that one. I think that one is probably our most viewed as well.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one.
Oh, I love the one that we just did recently. We're kind of we're looking at the laptop, and like we're seeing if season 5 auditions were open. That one was really funny. I remember just
Yeah.
immediately after, like there was a whole chunk, maybe like 10 seconds of the video that we had to crop off of the end because we just started laughing hysterically afterwards. So it really just shows you, I think, um, the fun that we're having, especially because we're two creatives coming together. I think it's one of those things where the ideas just flow endlessly. And like you're saying, it's one of those things of comfortability. Once you get comfortable, it becomes a million times easier. And obviously, we are handing over to a new family, and even I'm handing over to a new host who will be taking over from me. So I wanted to know from you, Gilberto, do you have any words of wisdom for the new family? I suppose maybe look at it kind of like if you were to give yourself like advice, if that makes sense. So you from the first ever episode, you're giving yourself advice, and I suppose maybe see that as giving advice to the new family who's going to be picking up after you.
I think the biggest one is be yourself and try coming out of your comfort zone. Yes, the first 3 shows are going to be a bit scary, but after that, you must just allow yourself to have fun, enjoy. Because if you continue thinking about what you're doing wrong, you'll never get the opportunity to learn how to do things right. So that's what I have to say.
No, that definitely makes sense. Like you keep mentioning, just open yourself up to this.
New ideas.
Yeah. But before we go, any final words that you would like to say?
No, I'm actually sad, Gianda. And I don't even think I have enough words. I think I want to say thank you. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to Radio Veritas. Thank you to you, Leanda. And just thank you for everyone for taking time to listen. Thank you for your time. And thank you for this amazing opportunity. I think in every lifetime, I'd do this over and over again.
No, I definitely agree. I think I have to echo what you're saying there, especially thank you to the listeners and thank you to Radio Veritas, because without the two of you, we really wouldn't have this opportunity. And I think even for myself, Gabriel, you've been mentioning the amount of growth that you've had. And I think for me, it's really bittersweet because I've been presenting since I was about, I think maybe 15, 16, and now I'm 20. So I've really been at the station for a very long time, and it's kind of surreal to me that this will be my last time presenting, and I think it hasn't even fully hit yet. I think maybe in the weeks to come, when Saturday rolls around and we're no longer presenting, then we'll be like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. Our Saturdays are kind of a bit empty now, but obviously we'll continue to be listening on and cheering on the new family and the new people who come on to the show to continue on the good work. But obviously, like we keep saying, a massive thank you to the listeners for all the support, for always tuning in, for everyone who engages with us, who, just kind of enjoys our content that we make, whether it's on air, whether it's on our social media. Thank you for just being there and giving us this opportunity. And obviously, thank you to Radio Veritas for always. It's literally in the motto for the station, the good news for a change, for allowing us to spread the good news and allowing us to have, like Roberto was mentioning, positive conversations with young people about our faith. And obviously, we are wishing the next families a lot of luck. The listeners, we are hoping you guys continue to have a blessed 2025. And we'll obviously be behind the scenes. We'll continue to cheer on, as I'm saying. But we are unfortunately leaving. And I think it's been a beautiful time spent with you guys. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as we have, because it has really been a blessing. And like Ebert was mentioning, it's one of those things where in a heartbeat, I would repeat it again. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of today's show, and it is unfortunately time for us to say our final goodbyes for the season finale of season 4. So unfortunately, for the last time, from myself, Leanda,
And myself, Kiabetwe.
have a blessed day ahead, and tune in again for a new family and a brand new host, same time, same place, on your favorite Catholic family hangout spot.